Talking.
Well, it's happening already right now.
So my name's Sol. I'm a Civic Engagement Ambassador.
My name's
Karina. I'm better than Sol.
a senior,
I've done more stuff
and
than
I'm
Sol.
going to
I
graduate
am
this
going to be
spring.
also graduating this
Actually, me
spring.
and Karina are graduating together.
But I'm going to be first, and I'm the prettiest.
So she's lying. Well, she's the prettiest.
Did I not mention that we have to talk one at a time?
Okay, so I am more important, so I shall be talking first.
Okay. No, and period. Hey, I'm
Just
not fighting
kidding.
that.
Advocate for yourself. Guys,
Okay.
at all times.
But for real, because we got 30 minutes.
Yes,
in this
okay.
room.
Let's walk in.
So we're going to start this podcast, which is Civic Engagement Ambassadors at Cal State San Marcos. We're going to go around, introduce ourselves real quick, because this is episode 1 of who knows how many. My name's Shelby Rogers. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Experiential Learning here at Cal State San Marcos. Who else is here?
Are we going clockwise?
Whatever you want.
My name's Anthony Mejia. I'm a third-year poli-sci and econ minor. I'm a part of the civic engagement team for past 2 semesters once I've complete this one. And yeah, we're just doing a podcast. So.
Yeah. My name is Karina. I'm a 4th year here on campus, and I will be graduating in May, majoring in criminology and criminal justice studies with a minor in literature. And I've been here since Anthony and Sol been here.
My name is Sol. I'm a senior. My major's in psychological science and my minor's in criminology. I'm also graduating this May. And I've been part of the original team since its conception.
Version 1.0.
Are you excited to graduate?
Yeah.
Or are you sad too?
I'm excited, but I'm going to go to grad school. So it's like, am I really graduating?
Continuation of the same thing.
But I'm proud. I'm excited. Yeah.
Have you begun looking where? Question mark.
I think I want to continue it here, but I don't know yet. So I have to do
just
more
up in the air.
Yeah.
Okay, look at Anthony going off script already.
Anthony said, actually hand me all the mics.
Pretty much. Okay, so we do have some
The
questions.
Anthony show.
Oh my gosh, just like our meetings, just what we said. Okay, so we do have some questions. I have some questions that I wanted to ask you all so that you could share with students about the work that you're doing, why you do what you're doing, because I get to hear about this every day and I think it's super cool, so I want more people to hear about it. So the first question is why get involved? So some people feel like there's no point, it's hopeless, right? And other people feel like it's someone else's responsibility. There's people in the government, it's their job to take care of things and fix things. So what's different about you all? Why do you think you should be involved?
I wish there was a buzzer. Boom.
Buzz.
Taking it. I feel that to strengthen our democracy, even though it's we have representatives, we have higher ups that get to not choose what we do, but they have a pretty weighted say in it. To strengthen our democracy, all of us should be able to voice our opinions and have our voice in what we want in our society, or what we want laws to look like, policies. And for me personally, I am civically engaged because I used to not be civically engaged because it was easier not to look at uncomfortable things going on in the world. But fortunately and unfortunately, I'm part of the communities that a lot of these policies and stuff are affecting. And for me, it's just I couldn't continue living just trying to pretend the world was okay, especially for people who are brown or queer and stuff like that. So I became civically engaged for that reason, and I also just want to have a say in what goes on in my life. So
no, you go first.
I was gonna say with the question saying we should leave it to representatives or whoever's in government to whatever do their policies or enact things how they want to. I feel a lot of them are very inefficient and they don't really get things done. At least they don't get things done how they should, or sometimes they just completely don't do things that they really should. So I feel that's another reason to be civically engaged, just to I guess get things done. I'm the type of person where I like getting things done and being more direct, where I feel sometimes these politicians just play I don't know, not necessarily games, but they'll just run around the problem or do whatever they can to not fully address it when it's these things should be addressed and then, dealt with. But I feel that's the reason you have to be civically engaged, to make sure government is held accountable, at least in certain respects. Obviously, there's multiple dimensions of it, but a lot of it is, holding them accountable for when they're wrong, or when, they do something you don't like, or when other groups of people don't like, for example. So I feel like that's just another reason. What are you going to say, Karina?
As for me, kind of bouncing off Sol's question, I decided what I wanted to do like pretty early before I wanted to go to college, which is I wanted to go into law, and I was always very opinionated. I was always like always the type of kid who would like give me report cards. They're like really smart and get stuff done, but they talk a lot. And once I decided I wanted to go be a lawyer, Mom was like, "Well, at least you'll be getting paid to talk now."
Nice.
So, and arguing and having your own opinions. And so, kind of when I mix that opinionatedness and walk into a space of education, which again was something very different for me. So, taking advantage of that, it's kind of what led me to being civically engaged, because now all my opinions and all my talkings were backed up by my education. And so then kind of when I stumbled onto civic engagement and what it really means, and like my journey to like exploring what law means, I was like, okay, my bread and butter right here. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but to that being said, though, it can be very hard to like continue to do this work. Like, I mean, you may not agree with anything, which me as a loud person, like I will always say when I don't agree with something and then think that everybody else is wrong and I'm right all the time. Sometimes like it's downright like I don't want to do this anymore, or like it's just like so much all the time. But then also kind of so it's okay, I think, to like have those days where it's like, you know what, I don't want to do this right now. But as long as it's also a day that's like, if I'm not gonna do it, who else is? Or like, who else is kind of soul saying? Who else is gonna say what I have to say?
Right, and like I think that's important too. Like understanding that to be civically engaged is not to be like on it every single day, being like I'm gonna rally the troops and like do all this work, like, and I'm so happy about it all the time, because it's like kind of scary and sad. And that's kind of like the fact of it. But that is also what like propels me to do that, like to be civically engaged, is because it's like, yeah, it's scary, and that's okay, because things in life are scary, and like sometimes you got to tackle it like head on, but like that doesn't mean that you don't feel like stressed about it and that like it's perfect all the time and it's a really cool thing to do all the time. It's really cool because you get to like have a say and like be in communities where you can like help them feel empowered. And it's also important to recognize that like it can be tough, and so you can take breaks. Like I think that was the issue with me before when I wasn't like civically engaged. I was like, I can't be informed on all of this all the time, because it's like too much, like with school and like jobs and family or whatever. But like I didn't realize that you can like just take breaks or like take like baby steps too. Like if you want to be civically engaged, like start small in ways that like impact your community and also like fulfill you, but also don't like strain your mental health.
I think it's also pretty cool. It's like kind of again bouncing also. I'm so sorry. Like so I was talking about like especially after election time, like being able to like stay engaged, like for me was really hard, and like just like with everything, like you know, keeping up with everything, because something happened every day, you know, or something else was changing or whatever it may be. So I was kind of like, again, just wanting to throw in the towel. But I think it also really made a really great point of like focusing on one thing. Like if you can keep up with one thing, or like have one thing that you rely on to continue to be civically engaged or at least educated, like that's a good spot. And I think that it was also really nice to be able to have this team, because then we were all civically engaged, all kind of
Anthony.
Sorry. We were all kind of like, I mean, we tried so hard and we all really care, we're all really passionate, but then I think we were all just so really drained, but then none of us necessarily stopped caring. I think we all like focused on one thing each, even though I feel like we all care about those things very similarly. I think we all focus on different things, so kind of like, okay, I'll do this, Sol does this, Anthony does this, so I don't have to do it, but they can. So it was like, I think also having a support team in that is really helpful.
Yeah. I think our political system too is just like, getting back to like the question was like, it's very reflective or it's not very reflective as it should be of like the greater people. And kind of taking this back to like the first semester when we did like our voting thing, it's kind of the whole thing, like sometimes that I would say as like a talking point is that like all the older people get way more representation in terms of like Congress or like in terms of anything. However, the young people kind of get pushed or like marginalized out, even though we have greater numbers than they do, which doesn't really make sense in a representative democracy because you would think the highest representation would have the most representation. But for our age group, it's not. So I think that's another way to just be civically engaged, that if you really want the things that are important to you, you should do what you need to get those important things. And that being like specifically like with policies. I'm not saying like, you know, go out and do something dangerous, but but like, you know,
Not
if you want like,
violence.
if you don't agree with like a policy, you should very much say something to like a representative or something about it, because we do have greater numbers than like older people 65 and up. So that's just another thing to keep in mind.
Anthony is our stats and logical person.
That's true. That's true.
No.
I want to point out something that you said, Anthony, which is kind of like this idea of like managing up that people use in like professional environments, where like even if it's like your boss, you're like, hey, like you could do this better. So you're basically describing like managing up like the government. Like, you know, I think you should do this better, and y'all aren't thinking about that.
It's kind of. Oh, I guess this leads into the next question, because
yeah, it does.
Actually, I was gonna say like that's kind of like what I did with like our city council, like because they mentioned. I don't even want to say it on air because I don't have. Yeah,
that's true. Okay, so
Yeah,
it was
that's true.
kind of a perfect segue. Like what Sol was saying about like finding one thing and working on it, and Karina was building on that. So I think it's a perfect time to talk about the next question, which is what are you all working on? Like, what's your thing that you're like, okay, this is where I'm gonna be, and this is where I'm gonna spend my time. Obviously, taking breaks and all that stuff. So who wants to share first? Water break or tea?
Okay, I'll go in the meantime.
The way Karina was
Always
okay.
ready for the mic.
I guess. Yeah, so I guess I'm kind of working on a couple things. One of them is like service learning. So I guess the reason I like service learning, or why I chose to do it at specifically the Boys and Girls Clubs, I used to go to the Boys and Girls Club when I was younger. Like, it was basically just like an after school program because both my parents worked for like a super long time, always like up until way later. So like I was always the kid that had to like go to the Boys and Girls Club, which I don't mind it at all. It was really fun, you know, iconic tag games and stuff. But they did give me like a lot of resources there. Like I remember like reading like all the old Magic Treehouse books and Geronimo Stilton, if anyone knows that, like with like the little rat and like the cheese. You know okay, yeah. But yeah, so I always wanted to kind of at least give back some way, and I don't mind like doing like teachings and stuff. I actually kind of really like it. But that's just one of the things I've been working on, so just kind of getting into contact with the Boys and Girls Club. And then time permitting ST documenters. That one's a little more difficult just because a lot of the meetings are in like more downtown San Diego area or closer to San Diego, whereas we're in North County, so it's a lot.
But like,
to get
what
over
is
there.
it? What is ST documenters?
ST
We don't know what you're talking
documenters
about.
is essentially a program. In an essence, it's for government efficiency. You go to these meetings. Typically, they're held by government or either local government, state government, something like that, or city government, like very local governance. And you just take notes. You're essentially taking notes on the people there. You're making sure who's attending, like all the council people are attending when they should be. You have to record it too as well. So everything, like you record the entire meeting basically for efficiency, like when you write down things, because not everything that you write down is true. Sometimes you just have to like quickly paraphrase it, but you always record it just to get like what they were saying. But yeah, I've been doing some work with them. It's difficult though, just to go all the way down to South San Diego and do it and then come back up.
Was that what you vlogged, or was that something different?
That was the city council of San Marcos. That is something. That's the next thing, which because I wasn't able to go like a lot of those ST documentary meetings just because they're super far, I turned it more towards the local side, which is local San Marcos. And I went to the council meetings there every Tuesday, 6 o'clock and over, every other Tuesday. So the next one is this coming Tuesday. But I had talked to I'd heard something about SANDAG, the San Diego Transportation. They do like the Sprinter stuff, and he was, or council member Sanello was basically saying that they're not as much funding has been going towards them as maybe it should, and they've been having issues raising revenue for it to provide it to keep being cheap. and for like student transportation. So I'd basically like addressed him in like the meeting, and then he actually followed up yesterday.
Wow.
So now we can get like a little meeting whenever it's available for him, mostly. 'Cause,
Yeah.
That's another way to get civically engaged.
Yeah, and it just shows like, it could also happen to you. Like I'm not really something special out there. Like, I just went up and spoke, and then they told me it was a non-agenda item actually, so they couldn't comment on it.
Oh wow.
And then the clerk took my info, and then she was like, "Oh, the the council member will get back to you when they can." So that's kind of what happened, and then now here we are. But that's just me.
That's cool.
What about
Right.
what about you, Karina?
That is cool.
It is cool.
It is cool.
Because you're also doing stuff in San Marcos, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I was like, okay, let me go first because this is my perfect segue. Let me go next. But so when I came up with my mission, I was like really torn because it was like one of those things where it's like, I want to do this, or I think this is also pretty cool, or like even kind of putting it down to like issues. Like there's a whole bunch of things that I care about. So actually Anthony going to city council was a really good news for me, because one of the things that I was torn about was between doing local government or focusing more on local government, or focusing more on like other local resources. So when I found out Anthony was doing that, I was like, okay, I'm done, I can do this now.
I got you. I'll pull through for you.
So I am working with Universidad Popular, Popular University. It's here in San Marcos, and they're kind of like a little resource actually founded by CSUSM alumni, which I thought was really cool. And shout out to Shelby for that connection.
I didn't know that. That is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shelby was one.
And Mecha members. Like,
Oh,
they were very
yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
Very involved on
CSUSM
campus.
alumni Mecha members. And did you know them, or like how did you know who like that?
My former boss connected me with them because we always would invite them to campus to do our Speaking of Democracy workshops, where they would just talk about their work. So that's how I got to meet them and know about the stuff that they were doing.
But yeah, so that was really cool. And actually, it wasn't the first time that I mentioned Universidad Popular. One of the first, I mentioned them back in the fall semester when we were doing all of our voting presentations as part of like the special presentations that I made up of other ways to get civically involved, and how you can volunteer in different organizations, even outside of like voting, just other ways to go ahead and keep up with that. So they do a lot of civic education in the community for free, and they also do help with citizenship classes in education, which is also another big thing coming from a Latino household and immigrant household. So that was one of my biggest issues, that I wanted to make sure that like all the work that I did and what I brought back was reflected upon who I am, especially on the campus and the student population that we are on. I was like, yeah, these are my people. I can totally do that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm volunteering. So they host weekly meetings all the time, both specifically for the citizenship classes and their civic education classes. So those are the classes that they already have set up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays afternoon. I go to both Tuesdays and Wednesdays, in which they have their citizenship classes in Spanish, which is great because I need to practice my Spanish. And I go to those, and those are super fun because it's also like things like, girl, I had no idea. Because also like the way that it's taught, and it's not necessarily just like a practice of the naturalization exam, which is the exam that you need to go ahead and take to become a citizen in the United States if you're not one. But it's just like a review of like how local government works. Again, it's kind of really like an adult version. Well, I'll say like an adult version, but because it's like a year process, the whole program is a year, so it's like very much more in depth and like sharing information, and also like in a way that's pretty simple. So, and I actually got the idea for doing the local government and letter writing workshop from something that they did at Universidad Popular. So now I was like, so I was like, let me write that down.
What type of like you said they do like civic education? Like do they do like presentations?
No,
or
yeah,
like...
they have presentations, and they have different guest speakers all the time. Most of the time they're on Zoom because the guest speakers like actually like do work in like Sacramento, like out of state stuff. So it's like really cool, and it is specifically focused with the immigrant community and as far as their rights go. And those are on Wednesdays, and every week is a different topic. So it's about an hour and a half. They're supposed to be an hour, but everyone always asks
They always
questions.
go
so
over.
it goes over. But it's also, again, really cool information to see. And from them, they're really cool, and they've been giving me like a lot of information that I've been having whenever I do my events. Again, just to kind of like doing the information about what they do, as legal representation in the area, because they're also very big on that. While they do help with the citizenship classes, they're not like a legal resource. They're more of a grassroots effort, so they can't provide that, but they are well connected in the community. And they give me their list as well as information about ICE at your door, and knowing your rights on how that works, and kind of reclaiming it and not using it as a sense of like fear mongering, but also like just being empowered and knowing your rights, which is I think like really our purpose here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well said.
Yeah.
On
So
that,
nice.
like knowing your rights and like self-advocacy and like standing up for yourself, I wanted to focus my like project on basic needs, and I'd been thinking about it since last semester because we were having like a meeting one time, and then I got a phone call, and it was like for my CalFresh interview, and I was like, oh, sorry gang, I have to take this. And then I was gone for like 25
Was it like
30
our
minutes.
first meeting or something? I was like, okay, so
Yeah,
just leaving
I
our
was just
meeting,
like, I
no
gotta
big
go.
deal.
And then
yeah.
I like picked up and I was like, oh, I guess I can do the interview right now. And then like I'm transgender, and so the whole thing was a little weird because the lady was a little bit weird about me being trans, and I was like, oh, this is really awkward. But like I got through it, it was fine, got my benefits, was like, yay. But then afterwards, like obviously the mental health aspect of it, like I was anxious, I got kind of depressed because I was like, that was uncomfortable, and I didn't like the way that she treated me, and like I wish I'd been better prepared to like go into that, especially because she called me like randomly. And so I was thinking about this since last semester, but basically I'm putting together a comprehensive guide for students specifically at Cal State San Marcos to like know how to apply and like obtain and keep your CalFresh benefits. And then my guide specifically has like parts that I haven't really seen in other guides, where it provides like advice or resources for transgender individuals and undocumented and mixed status students, because like it is sometimes easy to apply, like, but it depends on who you are. And then the more research that I did, I was like, it's actually kind of harder to apply if you're a student. Like it's easier to apply like if you're just like not a student. Which is something I had experience with because I would like help my mom do her CalFresh application when I was a kid. And so like the difference between the two, I was like, oh, like we as students have to like provide a lot more sometimes to be like, please give me the help that I need. Like I promise I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Like I promise I can't afford groceries. Like please.
Those
Even
egg
though
prices.
everything is like CalFresh for students
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just like apply. And like that's kind of like, even though I knew the CalFresh process was like a little bit difficult and confusing, like going off of like my mom's like public benefits, because she's had like Section 8, like Medi-Cal, like all of it. And it's always been kind of confusing because it's a lot of paperwork. When I saw it, they like, and it like worked. I was like, okay, go San Marcos, because they had like a little flyer that was like, "Are you hungry?" or something. I was like, "Yes."
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I like scanned the QR code, and then I was like, "Oh, you just like apply." And like this seems pretty. And they like have changed the online CalFresh application like since like 2014, 15, since I was doing it for my mom or whatever. Not doing it for my mom,
Not
helping
doing
her.
it.
Helping
Assisting.
her.
Helping.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, when I would allegedly help my mom. No, but they like changed the website, so it's like it looks easier, and it is easier, but then like there are a lot of things for students where it's like, oh, I didn't know I needed to provide that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then and like the whole thing, like me and Anthony and Karina, but Anthony specifically because he had this experience as well. Where like when you do the online application and you like put like I'm free from like Monday through
Don't
Friday
even
these
get
times,
started about that.
they don't call you at the times that like you request. Like usually they will find a day. Well, that was a lie. I was gonna say usually they find a day that works for you. They just pick Monday through Friday, like when the office
they
is
pick
open.
any day. Like I told them, Tuesday, Thursdays, I cannot. I
Yeah.
have class from 9 to 4 p.m. Like, and those are basically work hours. Like,
Yeah.
So by the time you call me, I'm already done. Like,
Yeah.
So I told them Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, realistically, any time in that day. They've called me both times on a Tuesday when I was in my calc class, and then they called me the next time on a Thursday when I was in my 1 p.m. class.
Perfect.
And then they told me that if I didn't take this interview right now, I would have to do the whole process over
Yeah,
again.
that actually did happen to me once. So
Oh,
That's okay. Never mind.
Not
Karina's included in this
yes,
experience.
thank
I'm
you.
so sorry to Karina. Let the court know. I apologize to Karina. But no, that's why I'm including in my guide as well, is like knowing like if you miss the call, like the county can be like, oh, like you didn't.
Yeah, they'll
You
like
failed
rescind it
basically.
or something.
Yeah, and then you have to like redo it, but there's like little intricacies like within that, and so like I'm putting that all in the guide, and then specifically for like transgender individuals, where it's like, how do I submit documents if like my legal name doesn't match my preferred name, and like how is that going to fly in like the interview? That whole aspect of that, I'm putting that in the guide. And then for undocumented mixed students, it's like information about like public charges and like what you actually need to worry about and what you don't need to worry about, because a lot of it, it's like it's kind of just like the fear of like, let me not touch that, even though you really need like the benefits for you or like your family or your household. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and it's a lot of research, but it's kind of fun to research it. It's kind of horrifying as well, because I'm like, this is a lot of steps people have to take, but I've always wanted like to make things easier for people in regards to like getting basic needs, and like by basic needs I mean like the things
Like
you
food.
need to live. Yeah. Like health
Like-
insurance, food. Like I feel like that should be a little bit easier, especially for like younger adults going into college, just trying to like get their higher education. Like groceries are the last thing about, and like as like grueling the process was for me, and like as unprepared like that I felt like doing it, once I got like my public aid, I was like, this is amazing. Like it is like the process sucked, but like I was like, I don't have to worry about like my groceries right now, and I can like make the food that I want to make, and it was good. So that's why I really wanted to like make this comprehensive guide, so that other people who are like, I don't want to do this is way too hard, I'm like, I get it. And also get your groceries. Like
Yeah.
it's so it's such a relief to like not have to worry about that, and that's the whole point of them. But yeah, so I want to make it easier for students. The squeaking chair. So
I
sorry.
know, I'm like, I
Guys,
can't
sorry.
even
It's
move
very
over
useful,
here 'cause
guys.
I'm
No, literally, I'm
that
literally
too.
like-
I think it's a really useful
Yeah.
guide though.
No, it
Like,
will be.
really
Yeah.
excited.
Because
Like,
I didn't know anything about how to do it, and then I feel like they would just send me like a random email or voicemail, and then it's like, okay, I guess that's the next step. It was almost
Yeah.
like one of those books that you open where like you turn to the next page, and it's like turn to page 50 or
Oh,
something.
no,
And
literally.
you turn to it, and then they're like, now turn back to like which path do you choose? And it's like, oh my god.
You're
like,
like, can you just tell me what
yeah,
to do to get my
yeah,
benefits?
like what do I like?
And
Can
it
I
gets
just go
confusing.
somewhere to do this or
Yes.
like? Yeah.
And then in my guide as well, like I'm including a lot of information about the interview process, because a lot of it is just like, here's how to like apply for it, but then it's like, what are they gonna say? Like, what are they gonna
Yeah.
ask me? What are they gonna do?
They
Like,
have weird questions.
yeah,
on that.
yeah. And
Like-
so it's like sometimes when you answer a certain way, that means that like you agreed to something, or you just, and it's like a whole thing. So I'm like, I'm putting it in the guide to be like, this was my experience, and like it is a different experience for everyone, because CalFresh is case by case, individual. Like they're going based off of like what you have going on in your life, but as a college student, like you can kind of take my example and be like, oh, okay, I got it. They're gonna ask like A, B, and C. Let me be
Yeah.
prepared to answer that.
One of the questions that they asked me was, have you ever trafficked weapons before 1985 to Nevada? And I was
Wasn't
like,
born.
and I was like, did you even look at my application?
First of all,
Like,
so
Like, I'm
funny.
20.
They did not ask me that. I don't know what's
Really?
going on with Anthony.
Interesting.
Really?
They did not ask
they asked me like a bunch of weird crime questions.
Oh, or maybe she did, but like she kind of spoke a little fast, and so I was just kind of
Put me
like,
through it.
no,
no.
yes, no,
Pretty
no,
sure
no, no, no. And then like I said yes to one thing, and then it like got me later, where she was like, well, you said yes to this, and I was like, I meant no. And then she was like, okay, then you should have said that, and I was like, I'm saying it now. And then it was fine.
I am so excited for what's gonna look like. Just like
Yeah.
I know, like for one, like I like personally had my benefits discontinued twice, because I was like, once I learned something and I did that right, but for the next one I was like, I messed up with something else. I'm like gone and I have to do it all over again. And like
Yeah.
part of me was also kind of like, not like I don't want to say like shameful, but like embarrassed to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I know like everything that you come up with, and like how much you like thought and like care, and like your own experience you put and stuff. I'm like really excited. I'm like concerned that it might be like 12 pages, but
No, I know. I'm like trying to make, and
Doing
the
it.
thing is, if
Yeah.
it's long, I'm like, hey, no, look how cute it is. Like, just
Yeah.
keep reading. It's so
very
cute. I
cute.
promise.
But
I
like,
know you're gonna
but
make
like
it so
cool
cute,
photos
too.
in between everything.
Yeah,
Like
just
cute, like, little
randomly, yeah.
graphics.
Just
Like a
randomly,
picture
like a
book.
picture, yeah. And I'm like, it's like the sensory ones where it has like touch this here, like no, but yeah, I'm hoping it's gonna be really useful because it's also that's what Karina said, like feeling shame about like redoing it. I feel like allegedly the county sometimes makes it feel like you should be shamed if you don't know how to do these things, or like if you like messed up something, because like they sent me a letter like last week being like we're canceling your CalFresh because you didn't complete this correctly. But then they were like, so then just send in this thing and this thing. And I was like, so then why'd you work, like why'd
Yeah.
you make me feel
Why
like
the
they're like, we're ripping
fear-mongering?
this away from you because you did it wrong. And I was like, okay, let me just upload the documents.
Yeah.
And like me, when I was like 15, when I was allegedly helping my mother, when I would read that, I would be like, oh, like I guess like I don't think
No
you
more
have your
food.
benefits anymore.
Yeah.
And then it would be like this whole thing, and she'd get anxiety, and we'd all be like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then I would like have to read a little bit more. And then being 14, 15, I was like, oh, that's what they meant. Like you just have to upload the documents. So like I feel like sometimes they make it seem like you need to,
Like the end of the world.
yeah, like it's like this horrible thing, or like you messed it up forever, like you can't get it back.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's happened with Medi-Cal. That's the thing with public aid, is like a lot of the time they'll be like, you got it, now you don't have it, and we took it away, and now it's back. And it's like, okay, whoa. And that can be a lot, but I promise, like once you know like the process of how it usually goes, renewing, or not like renewing, but like recertifying like your CalFresh, your Medi-Cal and stuff like that, like it gets easier. Like it's always going to be a little bit confusing because it's paperwork, it's a bunch of legal, like what's the word?
Jargon.
Jargon.
yeah.
Thank you. But
Legally?
yes, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And it's also so that you can like take care of yourself and your family and whoever else needs public aid, which is probably
For a lot of people. Yeah. I just want to acknowledge a student came into my office today and was like, I tried 3 times and I got denied. So it's like, it's very much needed. So I'm sure people are like super ready for that guide and can't wait for it.
Yeah.
I also just want to like acknowledge a few like themes I heard as you all were talking. First, just that like each of your individual projects that you're working on is personal to you. It's related to something that you care about, and you're trying to like find your space in it where you can make an impact. And also something that Karina brought up earlier, which was like the overwhelm of being passionate about a lot of things, because like you all are lovely human beings and you care about your fellow humans, right? So you're like, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff going on. Like, how can I possibly, make an impact in all these spaces, and recognizing that like you can't, you're one person, but you can be a part of like a network of other people doing work, So like Karina, you're doing like immigration support work, and like Sol, you're doing self-advocacy for like, food stamps, like really important basic need things to live. And Anthony, you're like, our government needs to hear from us. And also I just heard about transportation. Like these are all very important things. And also giving back to youth. So, each of you are like making such an impact individually and collectively. And that gives hopefully each of you the space to feel like I can keep doing this, which is, Karina, what you said. I'm stealing your words now, but thanks for bringing that up because you captured it so well. I do want to get to our last question, which is, what are you learning about what it takes to create change or impact in your community so far on your lifelong journey?
That's
Um,
hey,
take-
good question.
Yeah, good question.
Let me think.
I would say it's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult in many circumstances. One, because not many of us are very familiar with how to do all these things.
Yeah.
We just have an interest in it, and then we just kind of assume where to go from there, and
Yeah.
then just think that we're on the right track. It's a lot of, I mentioned earlier, like trial and error.
Yes.
Like sometimes, like, the city council meetings, like I went there before I had the meeting with the Sandag person. I waited there literally 2 hours just sitting, listening to other people talk before I could have my oral communications. And it's like that's super time consuming.
Yeah.
And it's just draining because like I was just taking notes out the entire time too, but it's like having to get everyone's name and like know what they're talking about and stuff. So it's very time consuming. Making connections is really difficult. Like just because it's like, it's super random. Like, had I not gone to that meeting, I would not have the meeting with the person. So it's very spontaneous, very random. Like, there's no like, oh, if I do this and this, it'll get rewarded. But it's not really like that. It's very spontaneous. Like, the results. Sometimes the results are good, sometimes they're not good, and then it's like back to the drawing board, back to
Like,
square one. Got to
you
see how
have
this
to like
works.
chase information.
Yeah,
That's a thing
yeah,
too, where it's like
chasing.
yeah, and then like if you find like a contact that's good, it's like, okay, let me help, and then they can only help like to a certain point, and then it's like, okay, where do I go from there? So it's kind of just like chasing information and like making a little like mental map of like, okay, I went here, I did this, okay, what now? And then like continuously building off of that. So yeah, it's a lot of work. It does feel like fulfilling though when it's like I love me like promoting the Civic Engagement Action Plan or whatever. Like it is a really good idea. Like it is a good idea because it's like it's easier to do the hard like footwork of it when you're passionate in what you want to create or like who you're trying to help or whatever, because I've always wanted like a space where I can like help people with like the soft life skills that like I wasn't taught as a kid, and I would do it in like my personal life, but it didn't feel like enough, or it didn't feel like I had like all the information that I wanted to like give them in that moment. And so like it's hard, but it's also so not but and and it's really like fulfilling, and it can sometimes be fun because it is like a chase for information. So you're literally just like running around like being busy, being like, what do I do, who do I talk to, what do I look up, like who do I call, but yeah.
I have a train of thought, but to make sure I'm asking answering the question, can you repeat the question?
Sure. What are you learning about what it takes to make change or an impact in your community?
Okay. I think getting there and like finding your niche can be very hard. But I think once you are there, like Sol was saying, it could be very fulfilling and very easy to feel like you're making an impact. Like I feel like, especially like in the work that I'm doing, again, part of the reason why I'm doing this and like why specifically Universidad Popular is because I want to be an immigration attorney, and because of the household and like the values that I grew up with. Like this is my bread and butter. Like these are my people. These are people that I want to help. And well, I don't remember how I first found out about it. I think I literally like, I know that I did it as like found out about it as like background research for a presentation for Hispanic and undocumented, and like there's other ways to go ahead and get involved civically. I know they came up. I don't remember exactly what I looked up, but it was part of like a list of organizations that were doing background work. And then I mean, I was very lucky to have you, who like when I told you, you're like, oh yes, but like
Just on cue.
but also like you already know about it, and that because of like what your background and like what I want to go into, like you already knew about my plans. So having you to go ahead and be like, okay, like actually I know them, like let me go ahead and bridge this connection. I think you like let me skip over that hardship. Like really the only thing I had to do was like pick what I wanted to focus on, and then I got lucky even then because Anthony picked my other option. So I was very lucky in that sense. But I guess but then ever since, and then when I went, just because like the person that I am and stuff, like I was very anxious and such. And in my volunteering, like the first event that I went to was very much passive. So like for me, it was very easy to be like, oh, like I'm just sitting here. I'm not
like, what
really
am I even doing? What's
anything.
even happening? Yeah, what's the point?
So maybe be patient is another thing as well. I'm not patient. So so like on my first day when I didn't know anything about the program or like anything about what they do, and they didn't really have me doing much, I was already like down throw in the towel, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not doing anything. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
At the end of the day,
don't do that. Don't do that. Like change, it can be hard, like, especially like your way and how you want to make change can be hard. And then once you get there, don't quit.
Yeah.
Be patient about it, because like again, like you have yes, you can care about stuff, and like the passion obviously needs to be there, but so does the education. And if you go in like your first day at an office, you're not gonna come out on the first day working 9 to 5 and be like, I know how to do everything, I know how to contact everybody, and I know everything. Unless maybe you're Anthony, and Anthony knows that.
Yeah. Not true. Definitely not true.
So be patient when you first start. Like I said, like my first day I was standing by a door. But then like I've been going to other weeks now, and like they're slowly like asking me to do more things, or like I'm slowly connecting with people. Like I remember faces, but I don't remember names. And and so I'm recognizing people who come every most of the time, and they started like talking to me, and like they know my name, and I feel really bad because I don't remember their name. It's like I know you know me, and I know you, but I can't remember your name. Anyways, like it's like just like the more that I maybe like what is it, like a month now?
Only a month, yeah.
Working there, like, and I only go 2 times a week, like
Yeah.
for an hour and a half, 2 hours max each time. And then like I already have people who are like already like coming to me knowing that I'm there to help, that are already like, oh, like asking questions or like joking around with me, like ask me how my day was. And like so it's like little things like that, like that's like really adds to the fulfilling part. Like change takes time. Like find your niche, make it small too, because like
there's a lot of things.
there's a lot of things, and it can be very overwhelming. But find one thing that you know you're like, yeah, I can care about this, and I'm gonna care about this 5 years later, no matter what changes in politics and government, whatever it may be. Ooh.
That was okay.
That was really loud. My bad.
Cut that.
I feel like we're also all very ambitious people too.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
what- that
it's
was
hard
it.
for us to stick in one area.
Yeah.
Like we all have a bunch of different
That
interests
was-
that are like spider webs, you know, they
Yeah.
I
just all
think
intertangle.
That's what made that first day also really hard for me, because like I feel like I'm running out of time, or that I need to be doing so much, and like I needed to be knowing everything. I need to be helping everybody. I need to be telling everybody what their rights are in like a week, and that's not.
No, like
That's not
like,
it.
It's
that's
just not
the,
realistic,
That's not the
yeah.
process,
And like you
and
said,
that's not change.
the information like has to be there too, because I remember I was telling Shelby like I made my timeline like a month ago and was like, I'll get the first draft in 2 weeks or whatever, and then and then I spoke to Anna, like shout out to her, and she was like, hey King, slow down. What if you like actually made like a timeline that like makes sense for the amount of work you're about to put into this? And then she was like, have your first draft like here, and like give yourself like 3 weeks to like really like get this first draft, and then you have the 2 weeks to like finalize it. And I felt so like defeated for a moment, because then I was like staring at like my blank screen, like doing the SpongeBob like and I was like, so I did this for 2 weeks, like that's all I have to show for it. And it's like I have all this information, but like I hadn't put it like in
yeah,
a
you
way
have to
that,
like translate it on
yeah,
paper.
yeah. And then like Anna was like, please like take time, because this is like important to make sure that you have the information that you want to like give to people, and like your learned experience, like combine it in a way that makes sense. And so I was like, it's okay like that it takes time, but it was hard because at first I was like, no, like let me just like type something out, and then I was like, I rather take longer to have like the quality of something be great than like to get it out so quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, change doesn't have to impact everybody. Change can impact like your local community. Like I just mentioned, like people who go to Universidad Popular and like realize that I'm there all the time, they've started to come to me, or like they've started to ask me questions. I'm like with my mission and people that I hope to like make an impact on, like that's it.
Yeah.
That's like me getting my baby steps in.
Yeah, and like tabling, like when students come up to
yeah,
Karina and
tabling
they like, and they don't.
Not,
What did you just?
Y'all are getting so good at it, though.
Say that louder.
And also, we're like
say it into the
over
mic.
time, 15 minutes, and I don't know if another person needs to be in here.
Okay, never mind. Bye,
sorry.
bye, bye.
No, it's okay. No one's not,
We
so
have-
I'm assuming
we
we're
have
still
no more
okay.
thoughts.
Yeah, sorry.
Final-
actually-
You were
Final
gonna say
thoughts?
something. I
Final
have a
thoughts.
final thoughts, but you were gonna say something.
Oh, when
Yeah.
students go up to Karina, like
Yes.
in tabling, and they may not be like the population that's being affected by what Karina is like getting information about. They ask her all these questions, so it's like she's impacting these people who are gonna go out and then give that information, and it'll like spread. And that's what like is really like for me one of the most important parts of like the civic engagement, like not me again plugging it in action, is to like do it, like put it into the community and like create that little change in like people who may not even be like a part of the community that you thought you were going to like serve. Yeah.
I think.
It's
I
gonna
just
be
wanna
tough,
add in-
folks. You gotta,
so
yeah.
sorry.
I just-
Both of you will have your chance. Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Sorry to add. Like,
Yeah.
I think like another like really cool part like seeing that was like people who, like yes, like I have my people who I want to help, or like people who I have this information specifically for, but there's also people who this information they may not need, or like what people, they may not be part of the population that want to help, but they still care.
Yeah.
And I think that's also like something that's really like helpful and fulfilling is like, and like what makes it the process feel most like a little bit less stressful, since like it's not all on me. Like I don't have to be the only one doing this, because I'm not the only one who cares.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Kind of building off of what they
Yeah.
both said. That's what Tupac meant when he no, that's what Tupac meant when he said, "I won't change the world, but I'll spark the mind that will." That's basically what you guys just
You
said.
know what?
That's
That was
it.
a good plug.
Like
That's it.
education indirectly.
Yeah.
Because it's not that, you know, whatever issues you guys are talking about, it's going to affect them. They might take it home to someone, tell
Yeah.
that person. Like I go home and tell my roommate random things. And then, you know, eventually he'll say that down the line.
Yeah.
And then maybe one day that after a chain of events will spark something.
Yeah.
But that's all.
I love it.
I was
Y'all are
gonna
planting
add
seeds
something,
everywhere. That's
but-
oh, you have something else?
I don't remember what it was.
Oh,
Oh, actually, fun fact. So, like, the whole thing about time and, like, letting everything, like, take its course is, like, the whole reason when I was promoting my first tabling event, like, I put an Alexander Hamilton song from the play, but the only reason why I did that is because I was stressing out about time and, like, how much time I had to, like, do anything. And so the only thing that was running through my head was, like, you know that part of the song where it goes, running out of time.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, that was, like,
That's
my
how you
little
felt.
bit.
That was your real experience.
Running out of time.
Yeah, so thank you all for answering all these questions and spending this time with me. I just wanted to lift up like what Karina said, not to like give me a shout out again, but also like Sol talking about Ana Ardon with National Latino Research Center. But just like don't be afraid to reach out to people and like find out what connections they have, because like hopefully the theme that everyone's getting is like you can't do this work alone. And you also like it is hard work and it's like long work that takes a long time. So like give yourself the benefit of shortcuts. Like if somebody you know is already connected in this issue that like you're passionate about, that you want to work on, they may know somebody, and like that's how the world works, you know, like just do that favor for yourself. And I also want to acknowledge that like you all have different individual topics that you're focusing on, but you also have different skills that like you're bringing to the table, you know, and in social change movements, like there's so many things that need to be done, you know? So like Sol, you love researching, and like that is clearly a strength of yours that you're bringing to the table. Karina, like you're going to be a future attorney, like you're an advocate, you know, like you love to just like talk about it. And then Anthony, like you have all this knowledge of history, you're always schooling us, and like that comes into like your seriously all the
Heavy on
time,
that.
myself included.
It's like I third that.
So like you have so much political awareness about like how systems work and how this is like everything is on the big scale in terms of like historical context, and that's absolutely like a strength that you bring to the table. So there's no like one way to be involved as far as one issue or like one skill set, you know? That's what I wanted to make sure that everybody heard. So I think that's it from me, folks. Does anybody have anything else to share?
My chair keeps squeaking.
Okay.
The
That is
studio
all.
is really nice.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much.
I guess
Shout out to
that's
the
it.
Innovation Studio, Inspiration
for real.
Studios at the library.
Inspiration.
Inspiration.
Cut that out.
Yeah.
Inspiration
Inspiration.
Studios.
Inspiration
Thank
Studios.
you.
About the hub.
Inspiration.
This
Imagine
this
I
comes-
know.